Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation Magazine. This is what it used to look like. We're digital now, but I'm breaking out some of my archives here. October of 2020. CEO of Ganzorn Suites, Eleanor. We thank you for being on the cover. Let's see what I was doing back then. Oh, I'm at the old house with my son on the bikes, and we're going riding. And I always like holding the magazine in my hands. I'm old school, but I don't miss the post office. I don't miss the printer and all that stuff. And since we went digital, it's been an amazing transformation from print to face. And we just had under 49 million people hit the website last year, hitting consuming content. So all of you out there on the wild, wild web, 8 billion of you, we really appreciate you finding us on the web and consuming our content, and you're all gold in my books, in my eyes. I couldn't have done it without you. So we really, really appreciate you. But it's TGIF today, sunny here in the ATL, and they're working on my house. My wife's up there on the lot, and when I get done with this, I'm going to run up there and see what's going on. I got some toilets delivered, and they finished the trim, and the painting's done, and it's like a big Lego set right now. We're just in the downward phase. I got a couple things I got to do outside. I got to pour the concrete driveway. I got to put up the fence and some landscaping. But all the action really is inside. So it's been an amazing experience. It's my first ground up build for my wife's construction company, and we're still married. So that's a good thing. And and she tells me, "You don't know anything about color." I go, "I know, I know." But yeah, it's been a great experience, and I can't wait to do some more. And weather permitting, we'll stay on schedule and we'll get this thing done, within the month. So, but in any event, I have two nice ladies. One's in down in Florida, the other one's up in Asheville, North Carolina. I've got Hayley Vaughn, who's a project manager for Northspyre, and I also have Meagan Burroughs. She's in customer success. Ladies, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hi there. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. And Northspire, they're a real estate platform where they basically help real estate people become more efficient with their projects, et cetera, make things run smoothly, and good people to know. So the way this is going to work, ladies, we're going to do it in three parts. I'm going to each one of you, you're going to tell your bio, where you grew up, where you went to school, married, played sports, kids, pets, whatever, and how you ended up at Northspire. And then we'll talk about lessons learned over the last 4 to 5 years of the roller coaster that we've been on, any trends that you see, coming down the pike, or any cool projects that you've worked on. And then each one of you will leave your contact info and a positive thought or phrase, and then we'll close it out. So with that said, I'll go with Haley. Alphabetically, you're in front of Megan, so I'm going to let you go first and tell us your story. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Mobile, Alabama on the Gulf Coast, and was there through high school. Then I moved up to Virginia, went to the University of Virginia for college, where I studied architecture, actually. After college, I wanted to get a more practical sense of how buildings are constructed. And so I went to work for Whiting Turner, which is a nationwide commercial construction company. HQ is Baltimore. I was out of their Northern Virginia office working on projects in the DC area. Spent about 2 years there. It was a really great experience. I got real boots on the ground experience, was on the construction site every day for those 2 years. So really did, fulfill what I was looking for and getting to really understand how buildings come together and not, expand just kind of the design thinking aspect that I'd learned in school. And then from there, I kind of wanted to get one degree removed from managing subcontractors, I would say. So I went on to work for JLL as an owner's rep and project manager in New York City, actually. And so I was on a financial services client account for my whole time there, which was just under 6 years. So in New York, I was working on mostly corporate office projects, and then I actually relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, mostly for personal reasons. I just wanted to be a little closer to home,
Hmm.
and transferred with JLL. There was an opportunity there because our client was expanding their retail sites. So the Carolinas were a new market for them, opened about 30 sites in 2 years. And towards the end of my time at JLL, I was just becoming a little bit, or becoming very aware of how the industry felt somewhat like antiquated and slow to adopt change and technology. And because of that, I started like looking into opportunities in technology. And I wasn't even necessarily dead set on like prop tech or construction tech, but coincidentally, Northspyre actually found me, which is pretty surprising because I was like very much seeking something, seeking an opportunity with them out or with someone like them out. And so I joined actually onto the customer success team, spent about a year doing that. So got really close with, understanding our customers and, became very ingrained in all of the product capabilities. And then actually transitioned into product after a year. So I've been in product management for the last 2 years. And it's just been, a great experience. So what a
Hey,
change to
Whiting
think.
Turner, that's a big boy, and so is JLL. So those are not small firms. I've got a JL guy on my board, and got my contractor issue. So Whiting Turner, they always fill out the. I always like looking at the numbers as they keep cruising along. But those are nice names to have on your resume for sure. So, but very diverse. You went through and you kind of got the owner's rep gig going there, and the GC, and now you're in the real estate gig. All right, Megan, you're up next. Tell us your story.
Mine's even a little bit more diverse. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I grew up in Dallas. Both my parents were loosely in the real estate industry. My dad was a mortgage broker. My mom, still to this day, sells high-rise condominiums. And they always were working on a project. So a spec home on the side that they were going to sell. So I have very early memories, standing in a frame space, talking through floor plans, probably kind of what your house looks like right now, David. Um, and then, after high school, I grew up, it was kind of a small town in the middle of the city in Dallas called Highland Park, a little bit of a bubble. I was a cheerleader, I was in the drum line, was very active, but hit this point at 17 where I ran away. I left, I went to California. I wanted to live with the hippies. I wanted a fresh perspective. I went to Cal Poly in California. Um, and from there, my career did not start in real estate. It actually started in retail. So I was a buyer for Neiman Marcus back in Texas, based in Dallas,
Hmm.
and really learned business there, right? It had nothing to do with what I studied either. I studied journalism and graphic design. So I thought I would have a magazine career in New York City. That didn't pan out in 2010, 2009, right? But I learned about how to talk to people. I learned about how to do deep research, how to communicate clearly to large groups of people, who might be technical or not. I definitely use my degree every day, but never worked in journalism. I do read a lot of news, trying to read less. But after that, I did a series of retail startups. So I got the startup bug a little bit. One of which took me to Philadelphia. I worked for a healthy food startup, and we opened a bunch of retail locations really quickly, like 9 or 10 of them in Philadelphia. And so that got me boots on the ground a little bit, right? A lot of fit out stuff. And after that, I transitioned back into real estate, which I feel like was really always my destiny, given my parents. I also married an architect along the way, which even pushed me further into the real estate side of things. But I started in Philadelphia. I started in brokerage. Spent a lot of time with Compass out of New York, right? Compass is kind of half startup, half tech company, and half brokerage. Was one of the first team members in Philadelphia, and all my clients were developers. So we did some really cool projects in Philadelphia, converting old carriage houses, converting an old stone church into condos, that kind of stuff. It was so much fun. But I think in my time at Compass, that was my first light bulb moment about technology in this industry. I mean, real estate agents, brokerage side is old school too. And to give them data and tools and say, actually use this to inform your business, um, was a huge unlock. They were set apart. And I think for the first time, I realized, you know what? I'm the most tech savvy person in this room. And I ended up being the one to teach my colleagues how to actually use these tools, right? So that's how I started down the tech path. From there, we had a kid during COVID. Right before COVID, I had my first kid. I have two little boys. They're 3 and 5. And COVID hit. We were in South Philly. We got renovated, our first row home. And everything felt real tight. Like I lived on one of those streets where you can't even fit a car down it. It's so small, right? And so during COVID, we left and we went back to Texas. We bought this crazy turquoise craftsman home, sight unseen, and ended back up in Texas, actually in San Antonio. And I went to work for a small developer there doing big hospitality projects on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. It was my first foray into raising capital. Had a lot of fun, but honestly, the process to me was jaw-dropping. Like the big, ugly spreadsheets, the hundreds of millions of dollar budgets that are just, we think it's going to cost this much. That's just my gut. Like, really? We're gonna build a $300 million building on your gut?
Mhm.
And so for me, it was really jaw dropping. And I found Northspyre. I went searching for a tool for myself and my team, and I found Northspyre and had a demo. And then when interest rates went up and my project went on hold, I moved over and joined Northspyre. And so that's where I am today. Now at Northspyre, my team and customer success, we work face to face with the customer, and our customer is the owner developer. The platform was truly built for the developer and that process of building a building, right? Or renovating a building. But I work with teams all over the country. I get to see behind the curtain. I get to see buildings coming up. I get to see the budget and the workflow and how the work actually gets done. And it's a really fun seat.
I'm from Philadelphia, so
Are you? I thought
yeah,
I picked up a little bit of an accent. That's
yeah, I've been in Atlanta since '92, so I've lost my twang, but I still say water, WADER. People
water.
laugh at it. Yeah,
Yeah,
water. Yeah, water. My wife, she's like, it's not water, it's water, and I'm like, yeah,
water.
don't say it that way. And
Yeah, go
I,
Eagles, right? It was
uh,
funny for me to be there because I'm from Dallas. So we're both NFC East
yeah.
NFL football, right? And my grandpa actually played for the Cowboys, which is why my family was in Dallas to begin with. But I happened to be in Philadelphia, not this Super Bowl this year, but the one before. And it was a crazy time.
Oh yeah. Well, since you lived in Philly, I have to ask you, do you like Pat's or Geno's? Which one is it? Down on South Street.
I'm actually a John's roast pork fan.
Hey, there you go. Hey, look, and people ask me all the time, well, what do you like? What cheesesteak? I'm like, I like Atlantic City. There's a place called the White House. That's where the real cheesesteaks are, in my opinion. But anyway, I always ask that question
Yeah.
if you live
Um,
there. But
roast pork with broccoli rabe and provolone. That's me.
yeah. Listen, I still have a lot of family still up there, but if I go up there, I go up there during the summer so I can, hop on the expressway down to AC and hit the beach for a couple of days and see some buds down there. But what two really good stories, it's Women in Construction Week, starting I guess tomorrow if you want to count it that way, but I look at the whole month. It's all about women in construction, and it's good to see that myself, listen, I went to DU and I was a hockey lacrosse player. That's what I went out to do. But I was an economics, political science major, and one of my mother's side was in construction. Still been in business since 1888, 100 and
Oh
some
my
odd
gosh.
years.
How
So,
cool.
and on my dad's side, they were in upholstery furniture, and I did my retail training at Levitt's Furniture when I got out of school. I scotch guarded, I emptied trucks, I ran the customer service, I was in visual merchandising, I did everything. I put together more of those little brass food tables that were loss leaders way in, put them in the back to make everybody walk through the whole store. But everything that I took, my athletic career, I've kind of molded myself. But you know what the really funny thing is, I'm a publisher editor. My English teacher in prep school, he laughs at me. He's like, Corson, you couldn't even do a 5 paragraph essay, way back when. I can't believe you've got editor on your title. I go, I know, Bremen, I know. But I did read Othello, Tom Sawyer, Lord of the Flies. I read them all Quiet on the Western Front. So, but you never, even though I wasn't the greatest back then, I've learned to master my trade, and um, practice makes perfection. If you're going to make mistakes, if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself hard enough, in my opinion. You got it, and there's no losing. I call it learning. You either win or you learn. And, and you put it up in your knowledge vault. So whenever that hindrance or pothole gets in front of you, you're able to go, hey, this is the way I did it. Maybe I need to tweak it and so forth. But right now in real estate, Tell me if I'm wrong. The biggest thing that's going on is the occupancy rate on buildings across the country. And what are we going to do for these buildings if you can't get people to come back to the office? That whoever figures that out is you want to invest in that person because that is the $1 trillion silver bullet. Because if you look at a building, a high rise, they have a men's and a women's bathroom, a couple of, and if you want, let's say you wanted to put 10 apartments up there, what do you do about the plumbing? The walls up there, that's the biggest hindrance, but that is a huge issue today. What are we going to convert some of this empty space in? Even though we're going to, in retail, if you're not building, you're dying. That's just the way retail goes. But all of this space, what are we going to do with it? And uh, it's, how do I get people to come back to the office, even though they've proven themselves that they can work out of the office? How do they, they want to go to the beach, they want to go to concerts, they want to go out to dinner, they want to do all these things, but they don't want to go back to the office. You know, do you do a hybrid? Do you downsize? What do you do? And so I don't. I give all those people out there that are in real estate to have those buildings, and you want to fill them. That keeps them up at night. And I get it. And but there's so many innovative things that are happening, especially with AI. Someone's going to figure it out. And just like downtown Philly, you go across Girard Avenue, and it needs some redevelopment and whatever, and someone's going to come in there, and they're gonna get it going, and it'll still have that flair. Same thing with Charlotte or any of the other cities. Everybody, but that's the biggest thing. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
You're right. Conversions are tricky though, because they're almost just as expensive as ground up.
Yeah.
There's a lot that has to move. And then of course you've got the issue of light, right? Is there going to be enough light? Is it too deep? I was actually digging into a really cool conversion in Philadelphia this week with a customer. It's actually the Bourse building and another office building around the corner of it that they're trying to figure out what to do with. But big budgets.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, there's some old buildings in Philadelphia, and they're still standing today. What a historical town. And uh, you know, they have their own twang. People laugh. I'm getting back to my twang. They're like, "You're not from Boston. You're not from Delaware. You're not from New York. You're not from New Jersey. Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Philly." They laugh at me. Oh yeah, now I hear it. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, um, well, let's talk about March of 2020. Boom, everything goes kaput. And now we're in 2025. We're still talking about the roller coaster that we've all been on. Talk about, we'll go back to Haley. Talk about how you kind of weathered that storm, and, you progressed and how you handle it. Because I'm sure some of the listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, everybody was in it. So everybody kind of did it differently. Talk about how your firm and yourself, you went through and progressed.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2020, I was still with JLL and working on the financial services client account there. The retail multi-site bank expansion that I mentioned really didn't slow down. Well, I guess the construction schedules slowed down due to material delays, but in terms of like the owner slowing down, that wasn't the case. Everything was still full steam ahead. We just, of course, had to adapt our construction schedules based on material delays. We pretty much immediately installed cameras on all of our sites so that, in the case that we couldn't get to them, we had a way to still monitor progress. But I actually jumped over to join Northspyre in late 2021. And, by that time, things were still, I think, going well. And then like the tables started to turn a little bit, interest rates started to rise. So it became harder and harder for deals to pencil for real estate developers, right? So we definitely experienced, we saw that firsthand from some of our customers. And I feel like it was just a really good example of like it's that much more important to be using software that's going to make you smarter and better and be able to do more deals because you're making, again, good decisions based on data. It's just basically raising the bar of what can be accomplished. And I think it's became very evident that technology, and good technology, I'll say, not just any technology, but that's like, two steps ahead rather than a couple steps behind to, grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, with AI technology, everything's at warp speed, and these days, and everything that's anything you learn 6 months from now, it could be outdated. I mean, it wasn't like that in the past, but now it's uh, yeah. The big thing about technology, a lot of people are scared of it. You just have to blow through it. Yeah, it's push button 101. You have to manipulate the software, learn how to use it, and but you have to get rid of that fear factor, in my opinion. I mean, there's still contractors out there that don't even have a smartphone, or even architects. They're using a slide rule, or if they're old school and so forth. But technology is your friend. It can be your foe too when it has its glitches and but if I was building a $300 million building, I would want to know that everything's pretty accurate. I'm not going to ballpark that. On my house, hey, some of that stuff we ballparked, but listen, I hired a federal contractor to help me with my takeoffs. It's been around for 40 years, and he was outside of Philly, and he helped me. He's like, yeah, listen, the Quiceborough here, it's on the lake, so you gotta put a little buffer in there, but this stuff's pretty cool. So after we gotten things done, halfway through the build, I emailed and I said, Ralph, you were pretty close on a lot of stuff. It was amazing, and we knew a lot. Listen, my wife owned the internal stuff. The only thing I really had to get was I needed a grader, I needed a framer, civil engineer to do my plans, and then a concrete guy. The rest of the stuff my wife had. So but it was scary. I mean. Your first ground up. But listen, if you hire the right people to get things done, just like if you get you purchase your software, you learn how to use it, and manipulate the things that you like, and there's some features probably they never use, and but they get it done. But you have to have that fear factor of, hey, this technology, I've just got to learn how to use it. The more I use it, the better off I'm going to get to it. And so you know when you were growing up, did you ever think that you were going to be at Northspyre, in March of 2025? Either one of you?
Gosh, no.
Not
No. Yeah.
but it is funny. I feel like architecture school was kind of my first foray into doing what I do now, and that, you're trying to create a solution based on user needs in the form of a space. And now I sort of do that same thing, like listen to pain points that people are experiencing, and try to solve that with technology. So sort of a similar thing, but just different
Yeah.
lanes.
Well, it's
Mhm.
like this technology. Like I was doing Zoom. I had just bought my mic. I was going to do all of these episodes. I was going to do them on the construction site and interview people when I was on the road. And all of a sudden, when I was still virtual because I was working on my house, and I used to have an office, 14 employees, all that stuff, and we just went virtual before that. And so they were all pretty much proven, but I'm sure it was scary for a lot of people that had never worked in their house. And some people have to be in an office because they don't have the what's the word I'm looking for? They just hadn't done it before, and that work environment where everything is calm. They're used to it, and I was already out there, so it didn't really bother me. The only thing that I was worried about was half my circulation was either furloughed or the office was closed. So I was fighting with the printer, going, "Look, I don't want to pay for all this printing and postage because I don't even know if the magazine's going to get delivered." That was my gig, and um, much different than '08 when the economy, the housing market went off the cliff, but things were still open. People were still flying. They were going out to dinner. This whole thing was an unknown, and uh, it was a learning experience for everybody. But I can tell you, all of the architects, the brands, the people, all the guests that I've had on here, everybody said they learned so much about their company, about their people, that work-life balance that a lot of people were just working and they realized there's more to life than just work. And that's what's keeping people, I think, coming back to the office. And which is a positive thing because time is precious. You can't get it. Boom, that second's gone. You can't get it back.
Mhm.
So it's really But they all said, "Hey, I could have done more projects if I had more project managers, superintendents, which were few and far between, to find them." And in retail, your reputation's everything. If you don't get the building done on time because they build everything from the circular date that they're going to do the grand opening, and then they build it back. And um, it just hearing some of the stories, the way that people did it, and they got the laptops and they got everybody set up and they still did their Zooms. And then as things came back, to normalcy, that they figured out how to, keep their company acumen and atmosphere and just the same vision and plan. It was a really positive time. I mean, just like myself, I was a print face-to-face guy. I just had my event. I had a cocktail party down in Florida, down in Coconut Grove. We were looking at a shopping center was getting renovated, and then I was up in Milwaukee looking at hotels for my events for the summer, and then everything went kaput. And I had in April, I had a lot of sleepless nights. I get up in the middle of the night, my wife was like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I got to think." And then my editor and my artists were like, "Hey, let's go digital. We have all this content. We have plenty of pages on Google page one, never bought a keyword, and let's roll with it." And like I said, I was old school, but I went with it, and probably the best decision that I ever made. But I was forced into it,
Yeah.
but I was able to move quickly, and uh, and I look back at those, but there were a lot of sleepless nights. I'm sure a lot of people had those as well when, just because of the unknown. But once again, I look at us as all as Americans, listen, when it gets tough to tough get going, you pull your bootstraps up, you go forward, put the blinders on, and don't look back because there's nothing back there except the scoreboard that you can't change. And it's got
Mhm.
a W or it's got an L on there, and the L's for learning, not loss. So it it was an exciting time. But right now, I feel it's the most exciting time to be alive because in the real estate market, uh, there's a lot of housing that we need. You got a couple of natural disasters, Florida, Asheville, the West Coast, and I'm sure there's going to be other things that come down the pike. And hopefully the product manufacturers will come up with better products that can withstand fire, wind, and all that. And
Mhm.
it's just going to be an amazing time to see how you won't even recognize probably how things are done in about 5 years, in my opinion. And it, you know, it, I just do one day at a time because there's only so much time in a day that you can get things done. So, uh,
Yeah, they're changing rapidly. I'm actually about to embark on a potential project in my own personal home in Asheville, North Carolina. We're exploring lifting the house. Because my crawl space did flood, during Helene. But so we're like, well, if we lift it 3 feet, we might as well lift it 8 feet. And of course, my home is historic. The front part is from 1920, and then there was an addition at some point that's slab on grade. So then we're like, all right, well, if we lift it, should we split it in two? We're going on all these crazy rabbit holes. But you're right, we have to start thinking differently. And I think, we've got big problems to solve. And our big goal collectively as an industry has to be, can we build more predictably, right? Can our initial budgets be closer, more accurate? Can our schedules be more accurate? That's how we're going to solve these big problems. And the solution to that is honestly, it's data. It's big data. It's learning from our mistakes. It's taking a moment at the end of a project. Like you said, David, you look back and you said, oh, you were pretty close on a lot of things, but you took that moment to say, was I accurate, right? Were my initial guesses accurate? They shouldn't be guesses. We're in the age of AI now. We shouldn't have to guess how much a line is going to cost on a construction budget.
no, oh yeah, no, listen, I totally agree. I mean, the biggest thing that I learned on the build, I don't know how the municipality works there in Asheville, but uh, we were in Forsyth County where I'm building up on the lake, and uh, the departments don't talk to one another very much. I don't think they know what the environmental septic guys don't talk to the water department, and the water department doesn't talk to the planning and the inspectors and the zoning, and they all have tablets and stuff they go out there with. But uh, since I was building the house, I put a residential column in the magazine, so I've been putting a new ground up, from different parts of the country. I think this month I'm doing a penthouse that was down in Atlanta, and it was a two-story gig, beautiful, beautiful gig. Anyway, I put this in, but I also put a column in there. What did I learn this month? So I talked about permitting. What a cumbersome process. They say it takes a month. It took me 4.5 months to get my permits. First they made me change my address. Then they didn't like my septic location. Of course, they went out and did the perk test and all that stuff. And and then my major inspection. It was just cosmetic stuff, but the guy kept coming back and finding stuff. I'm like, when are you going to stop coming back? I've done your punch list. I want to get going on this project. And I had talked to the chief building official there, and one of the craziest thing was that he said, "Oh, we got to check to make sure you have no leaks in your tubs or your showers don't leak." So uh, my wife's like, "Well, normally do that when we do the tile in the bathrooms." Well, it's a new code that the county put in, and we want it done here. I'm like, that's just doesn't jive with the way the process goes because I haven't done drywall, sheetrock, or drywall yet, and once they sand, all that powder is going to go onto the liners, and I had to pay the tile guy to come in there to put that in, and he's gonna have to yank it out and re-put the liner in there. He goes, "I'm just a messenger. I don't write the code." So these are the things that that I went through, and the guy told me, the official said, "We love guys that do it yourself. It's so cool to have people do what you're doing." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm going to put the column in there. I'm going to tell you that where I think that you guys should improve, and not that I'm some expert, but I'm doing it."
You
And
live firsthand, yeah.
yeah, firsthand. I mean, that was for, I was like, why are we doing that? I'm just gonna, first of all, I've already paid to get him. Now I was gonna, I know the tile guy's gonna go and go, "Well, oh, why did they make you do that?" I'm like, "I know, Bill. Let's just get this done." But uh, these are the things that, in when disasters happen, that hopefully people can get through it. Just like when Sandy came in and hit the East Coast up north, all the homes that are on the beach in New Jersey, all those homes are all lifted just because of storm surge. Same thing in Florida. They should lift everything up. So if the wind doesn't get you, the water's going to get you. And there's no
Mhm.
basements, so why not lift it? And hopefully by then they'll have shingles that can handle 300 miles an hour. It's like we went metal and shingles on the roof, and the sales guy, the business development guy's out there with his swatches on the back of his F-150, and he's going through this. I'm like, you should have the wind speed should be way above what you're telling me. That you need to go back to the manufacturer. And I knew who all the roofing. I do a roofing report, so I knew who they all were. But I was like, you guys need to get that thing up there. Maybe we need to build concrete houses. Maybe there's other ways to do it. But lifting things is so I'm going to tell you to lift that house. And if you're
Yeah,
going to lift it up. You
yeah.
know,
All right.
right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That'll be our next project. But that was my COVID really was learning firsthand. We, bought a historic home. It had termite damaged walls and all the fun things, and we couldn't find subs. Even down in Texas where, COVID wasn't taken as seriously, I'll put it that way. Nobody would show up. Everybody was getting called on bigger jobs, right? And nobody wanted to work with our little craftsman renovation. So we ended up having to do a lot of work ourselves. But yeah, you're totally right about the permitting. I also dealt with short-term rental permitting. I'm an Airbnb host, I'm a landlord, and so I've gone through that rabbit hole, and that's different everywhere, right?
Hmm.
8 to 9 day rental versus a 31-day rental. Um, Lots to learn. But you're right, bureaucracy is real in all of our municipalities, silos are real, and we see that with developers too. The development team is working on one budget, and the accounting team has their own set of these are the real numbers, these are the source of truth. Um, and that's what our platform does. It's really combining all those people into one place. The numbers are all in real time. Anybody can go in and get a snapshot of the project without having to open 5 different spreadsheets from 5 different people's desktops and adding them all together.
So from each one of you, what do you see, what are some of the coolest projects name a project, Haley, that was one of your favorite projects that you've worked on in your career so far?
Okay, yeah. In so I guess when I was still with JLL, the financial services client account was JP Morgan Chase actually, and back in 2017 or so, Jamie Dimon announced that they were going to knock down their headquarters in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, 270 Park Ave, to rebuild a larger 70-story tower that they had to buy air rights for and so forth. But so we were basically tasked with the interim headquarters project. So in order to get all of those people out of that building, we basically the bank leased new space, and we built out a lot of new floors in multiple different buildings in Midtown to house those folks. So it was a really expeditious schedule. it was very much like a design build in that we were designing as we were building and we were figuring out like which parts of the business were going to go where. So a lot of moving pieces. Definitely a challenging one, but really, really cool. So
Wow, in New York, new building it, moving people out of their offices in interim, man. Ooh, that it must have been exciting, I'm sure. And not for them, but for you, all the
yeah,
ball,
I mean,
all the balls that you're juggling, hate that, and then dealing with the New York gig. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, those circumstances were definitely like when I, just had the realization that we could be working so much smarter than we are, and like I feel like that's why when I was first shown a demo of Northspyre during my interview process, why it resonated so much is just because, again, everything is like all of the project budgets are visible. And this was 5 different buildings with multiple different floors within the buildings that like leadership would come have to, tap on our shoulder to say, like, where do we stand budget wise? It was just that lack of visibility and siloed information that made it so challenging. And yeah.
Megan, what's your favorite project that you did? You only can pick one.
I'm gonna go recent. I'm actually gonna go with one of my customers' projects that just wrapped up. It's a hotel in Denver called Populous. It's a Genie Gang project, so a Starchitect project, and the developer who just completed is called Urban Villages in Denver. But I got to go see it. I guess it had just topped out, and it's like micro rooms. So the rooms are very small, and the common spaces are incredible, right? So the idea is, can we push community? And I think as a society, that's really where we're at. And I think, especially after living through Helene and seeing how my neighbors came together, I've been thinking a lot about that, about what does modern community look like? And so I think that concept is really interesting. I'm excited to see how that hotel does. I'm excited to actually stay there now that it's done. But I also saw it. I was in Miami last week visiting some customers, and I saw a lot of condo tell projects where it's condos, they're individual units with an HOA, but when you're not there, you can have it run as an Airbnb, and it's all managed on site. All the FF&E is high quality and consistent and all of that. But yeah, these new models that I'm excited about right now.
That's awesome. So if someone was out there in commercial construction coffee talk land and they're not familiar with your platform, how would someone reach out to either one of you, to bounce some questions off here, or maybe someone doesn't like the software they're using and they're looking to make a change. How would they reach out? Haley?
Well, they can contact me via email or phone.
Yeah. Well, what's your email? Throw your email out there if you want, or your
Yeah, Hayley.Vaughn, Vaughn at northspyre.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. Same name.
Yeah. LinkedIn. Hey, listen, you got to be on LinkedIn. That's what I always tell people. Hey, find me on LinkedIn because that's where all the business is going on. How about you, Megan?
Yeah, you can also find me on LinkedIn. It's Meagan Burroughs. Meagan is Meagan .Burroughs at northspyre.com. You can also request a demo from northspyre.com, right from the actual site. But yeah, I would say I'm a good person to reach out to if you're actually interested in changing your workflows. My team does a lot of training, a lot of hands-on. It's not one of those softwares where you sign up and then you're just looking at the screen like, I don't know what to do. Maybe there's a chat bubble. We actually have a very high touch level of customer service because it's an old school industry. I've even had teams that I've trained where it's like, you know what, Zoom's not working. I'm going to fly out. I'm going to sit at your desk and we're going to break through. Like we are going to learn this. It's really we're like consultants. I get really close to my customers and their projects, and we do whatever it takes to get them to adopt that modern process.
So if you're out there and you're thinking about, new technology or you're just getting into the real estate game and you have no idea what you want to do, call these nice ladies up. They're using the software every day. They both have excellent backgrounds to be where they are today and have a good pulse on, how things work and how they should work. And reach out to them. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Um, So if anyone wants to reach me, I'm at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, these ladies got on because I got a press release. I was like, oh, cool. It's Women in Construction Week. Perfect time. I'm looking for females in construction, women in construction. Let's get them on there. And so it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. Very tough to get into the magazine, but we got all these other social media platforms. We post all day long. I'm a content creator. Send me something. It could be an anniversary. It could be a new personnel in a charity golf tournament they did, or whatever. Let us judge the book by its cover. Send it to us. Our turnaround time is like, a couple of days. We send you the link. It's Google index, Meta, everything's done. You shared. It's a win-win. And but like I said, you got to send me something so we can look at it, and we'll find a place for it. So, uh, as we finish up, what I need a positive thought from each one of you. So I'll start with Meagan. Meagan, what would be a positive thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I think I would say, there's no reason to feel intimidated. As a woman in particular, I remember times I felt intimidated because I was the youngest in the room, or I was the only woman in the room, or maybe their project budget was bigger than my project budget, right? But drop all that. Like, we are all humans, we all have strengths and weaknesses. There's no reason to be intimidated by each other. I always try to connect at the human level first, and then business will come more easily.
Blow right through that intimidation. Yeah. Haley, what's your positive thought?
Yeah, I think similarly, like on the same note, all of those things of being intimidated because you're the youngest person in the room or because you're the only female in the room, that really resonates with me. And I think maybe, with age comes confidence, but you start to realize that you probably have a unique voice. If you're different, then you're more unique, and people are in fact probably going to listen even more. So.
I think being a woman you know, in a man's, world, I mean, that's the way construction used to be. It's not that anymore, but I had a nice lady on. She went to trade school. She was a flooring installer and she did high rises in New York. And she was probably 102 pounds soaking wet. I mean, she was a little thing. Anyway, she told me that her team will, big boys on her team, they respect her because she works hard. She's an excellent installer. She knows everything. Her dad was in construction and knew all the tools. But there was one day that they delivered, I think it was some bags of cement or adhesive for floors, and they dropped the pallet, but it wasn't close to where the elevator was to get it up, to the floors. So she started throwing these sacks and putting them on and moving them over, and all the guys were watching her, and then finally one by one they started to go in there because she showed them that, hey, I might be tiny, but I get it done. If you're not going to help me, I'm just going to get it done myself. And that really stuck to me. And and I put my women's column in years ago, but I had a woman, one of my circulation, person on my circulation goes, "Why don't you have more women on the cover?" I said, "I don't know. Let me look and see what the ratio is." So back then it was probably like 70-30, maybe, men to women. Now it's pretty even, on circulation. And I never understood why you would want a man to design a retail store or dressing rooms when you're not going in there and the women are, or how wide the aisles were and all that stuff. So all these things are going through my head when this lady told me, he goes, "Why don't you have more women on the thing?" I'll go, "Oh, well, then we'll put you on there." And but now it's pretty even. And it really doesn't matter who you are because it's really talent and how much you know and how you get things done. And proving yourself is important, but having that confidence that you might be the youngest or you might be the only woman in that meeting or whatever, you got to just hold your head high and prove yourself. And I give you both credit because you both have those same stories. So. Uh, yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to both of you. Really good careers, real good, your resumes look excellent. If I got around, wow, man, these guys have been with some nice, firms. So, a couple things before we finish off. Number one, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your spouse, your husband, your wife, your kids, your pets, whatever. Get some REM sleep, be able to do it the next day. Number two, you got to be stay liquefied. That's the athlete in me. You got to drink a lot of water. And if you're going to do it, put some of those electrolytes in there. I don't care if it's winter or summer. You got to stay liquefied. If you get dehydrated, you get headaches, you don't make the pass, you don't have a good day, you don't sleep well. You keep liquefied, you'll have a great day, you'll have a great evening, you'll have a great sleep that night, and you'll be able to get up and be fresh in the morning. And last but not least, hit the like button so we can get the algorithms for YouTube out there so everybody can hear these two ladies' excellent stories and their resumes in basically construction. And now they're in that, that contact world, which is amazing in itself, which is a whole nother discussion. So with that, any last comments before we sign off? Haley, I'll go to you first. Any last thoughts?
Um, I would say keep an eye out for what we have coming next. We have some exciting things on the roadmap that are even under development currently. So definitely keep an eye out for what Northspyre has coming up.
Okay, Megan,
Yeah,
last.
Haley's building some really cool stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, I would encourage you all to just northspire.com. There's some great content you can absorb really quickly to see what we do in real estate development.
I have my eighth annual March project awards coming up, and when I send you guys the link to review, I'll include that in there. So if you have any projects that you think that are worthy of recognition that you've done uh, in the 2023 to February 2025 timeframe, uh, we'd love to have you in there. And I think I did 84 projects last year, so maybe I'll go over 100 this year. We'll see, but I'll include that in there. Uh, so everybody out there in commercial construction coffee talk, listen, it's TGIF today. You got the rest of the afternoon. If you're out west, you still got a ways to go. I'm flying my colors tonight because we're playing Colorado College for the Golden Pan. We beat them already once, so we're gonna get the Golden Pan and go Pios on the ice. I think lacrosse teams we're playing Yale tomorrow, and the ladies they just beat number five Michigan on the lax green. So congratulations to them. And I've got to meet the landscape architect and the sod guy in the morning to make sure they're both on uh, the same vision and plan that we have, and get that house finished, that Lego set finished, and rock and roll. So I really appreciate the time. You ladies were fantastic, awesome job, and everybody have a great weekend. Listen, we're almost, we're in the third month of Q1. It's amazing. I just thought it was June 1st, January 1st, and we're already finishing out. And it's like I said, it's the most amazing time to be alive. So, you're going to history is made every day. I can't even keep up with it. I just go to bed at night and look at my phone. I'm like, oh, I didn't even see that was even going on. But take it because it's just amazing what's going on in the world today. So, construction, life, just everything in general. So with that, Haley, say goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me, David.
Absolutely. Megan, say goodbye.
Thanks so much, David. Good luck with your house.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm gonna say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just uh, right by the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 25 miles north of downtown Atlanta. And everybody, like I said, have a great weekend, and we will see you all next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Ladies, pleasure having you. And if I get in any of your areas, I'm gonna call up and say, hey, I want to go see some projects. All right, fair enough.
Definitely. Definitely.
All
Thanks so
right.
much, David. Have a great weekend.
All right. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.